welcome you to Meet the Candidate Night sponsored by Unite. Our intention tonight is to take a close look at all the candidates that are running to occupy 3 seats in the board, in the school board. And our intention tonight is to clearly see which are the candidates that really have an intention to make our school system a better school system. We reached out to our entire community. First of all, I want to thank you guys for showing up tonight. And it is my hopes tonight that you can all get a clear-cut view as to who are the people that you should cast your votes for. Lakewood school system is in dire need of help. And we need to have candidates that truly understand the problems that our children are facing, and people that really have a desire to make our school system a winning school system. So without further ado, we're going to get started. And tonight we have asked Dr. Mike Rush to be our moderator. Let's put our hands together tonight as he comes.
Thank you, Pastor Glenn. Good evening, everybody. I think it's kind of sad. Those of us who were at the board meeting last night, it was extremely packed, and now you have people who could have been here, should have been here tonight, and not here. But we're going on with our planned activities. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask each board member, by the way, they're seated of how they were placed on the ballots when they drew their places on the ballots. So if the number one person is on this end, number 2, on like that. So somebody may say, well, these 3 people run together, they're seated together, it just happened, that's the luck of the draw. Okay? What I would do for the public, I would ask each candidate to give an opening statement of 1 minute. And including in that statement, tell us why the person wants to run for the board. We have a number of questions that at the end, time permitting, we will allow the audience to ask questions through me of the candidates. All I ask that whatever answer you hear, do respect the candidates' words of wisdom. You may not like what they say, but we don't want any rules. We don't want any derogatory kind of statements towards the candidates. Okay? And if we can go with those guidelines, we can get started. So I'm going to start with candidate number 1. You know where your places are on the ballot. Candidate number 1, I'm going to ask you in 1 minute, why have you chosen to run for the Board of Education? And just tell us why, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rush. I appreciate it. My name is Mr. Israel Rosenthal on the ballot. The reason why I actually entered the race is because I feel I can make a very big impact in helping the school children of Lakewood. As the pastor said, and as Dr. Rush has just said, the school system is in dire need of help. And I believe with the right people in place, we could make this happen. It's not always about the amount of money that we have or don't have or how the budget works. I believe there's still a significant amount of money. We could do a much better job for our kids with the money that we have. And we're just not using it wisely. We're not spending it wisely. We can do a much better job. And by doing a better job, we can have, instead of having, unfortunately, the reality of what the state calls failing schools here in this district, we can change that for the better. You know, we definitely got to see the graduation rates go up. The scores got to go up. Things have to happen. The kids have to have a better education. I think we're shortchanging the kids, and the kids have to get a much better education. We have the ability to do it, and the reason why I'm running is because I have the business mind that I believe, together with the educational professionals, put the minds of the educational professionals with the business professionals, we can come up with a plan and make these kids and make these schools a much, much better situation in relatively a short amount of time.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tracy Tett. I'm that attend the public school system. One goes to Clark and one goes to a vocational school. The reason why I get involved is because I've always been involved. Not just because I want to run for the board. I've been involved with the school system. Any school that my kids went to, I was an active member of the PTO, active member in every school function, every school activity that my kids were involved in. And when you're involved in everything that the kids are involved in, you get to meet a lot of teachers, a lot of the administrators that run the schools, and you get to know them personally. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm not a politician. I'm not here to make promises. I'm here to look out for the best interests of the public school kids. I have a vested interest in the school. I went to the school. I graduated from Lakewood High School in '86. And I'm going to be around for a long time. My kids have a long way to go through school, and I'm going to be here for a while. And my main goal is to make sure that the kids get what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, please.
Good evening. My name is Lawrence, better known as Larry Averin. I believe that if I'm elected, I can continue to work with the remainder of the current board to continue the trend towards holding our costs, because we're all affected by taxes, but yet to continue to improve the student proficiency and the student continuance rate in the school. I will look to divert more funds from superfluous programs, direct them towards the classrooms where they belong. I have a strong commitment to fiscal responsibility and will bring professionalism and courtesy to the Board of Education. We work to improve meeting quality, content, timeliness, its website, and its interaction with the community. My personal goals would be to hold the budget in check, if possible, see an improved graduation rate and improved student scores, ensure the administration is attentive to all children, provide harmony within the board, and to work with the administration to research and create additional programs through grants like the 6th Grade Academy, which I understand is working very well, and hopefully will show and improve scores that the 6th and 7th graders will be able to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Larry Whiteman. One of the reasons that I'm
Get a little closer to the mic, please.
Sure. Is that better? Thank you. My name is Larry Whiteman. One of the reasons that I'm interested in serving on the Board of Education is to make sure that the educational objectives of the school system are of interest to everyone in this township. And although I congratulate the people that came out this evening to attend this event, I'm very concerned that the other taxpayers, the other parents, the other people who should be interested in what's going on in the school system are not here this evening. The township school district has a budget of some $130 million. There are a lot of students enrolled in the school system. There are a lot of students in private schools who depend on the functioning of the Board of Education, and they should all be represented here this evening. They should all be represented in this election, and they should all be represented on the Board of Education. Not just when there's a crisis that occurs, not just when there's something of concern to them, but the functioning of the school system should be of concern to them on a daily basis. They should know that their tax dollars are being spent wisely, properly, and efficiently to provide educational opportunities to these students. The statistics demonstrate that this school system is not providing those types of opportunities, and it's a shame. With that money being invested in the future of this township, not to have a return that is appropriate, not to have a graduation rate that is any place close to the state standard, to have teachers turning over year after year and not coming back to the schools, to have a situation that has developed
Thank you.
Last night with the business administrator. Those are the types of
Thank
concerns
you.
that I
We have to go to the next candidate. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. Next person.
Education because it is the most critical. It is the most critical institution that we have here at Lakewood. It is not only the largest expenditure, it has the more far-reaching effect because it is our need to educate children so that they can go on to become more productive, self-sufficient, and members of society that take care of themselves, take charge, and manage a business.
Yeah. July, switch lines, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that better? Yes. So it is in everyone's interest to educate our children, to keep them safe, to make them feel good about their school. And it is the stakeholders that we're interested in here. The stakeholders are the administration, the teachers, the Board of Education, the students, the parents, and the taxpayer. We all have to hang together in this to ensure, number one, we're delivering an educational product that can be used by the consumer, which is the student. The more we educate our children, and the more willing they are to take on that education, the better we are for tomorrow and the next day after that. It is our duty and obligation to make sure that children receive a thorough and efficient education. And that word's been bandied around so much that, of course, you're still arguing about it after 20 years. Well, I think we know what a thorough and efficient education is. It's when students want to learn. It's when students take on that education. It's when teachers really want to teach and get in, and even with a difficult student, they drive that education home. Because therein lies our future, their future, and the future of this community.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you all for coming. My name is Baruch Mandel, and I'm a candidate for the Board of Education. Over the last year, I have attended almost all the meetings of the Board of Education, and I've seen lots of frustrated parents who are not receiving for their children the proper education that they deserve. Me going on the Board of Education, I would demand from the superintendent, we need a clear plan. How and when will our schools be improved? Benchmarks that are going to be reached, and then we will hold her accountable. You say that in 6 months we're going to see this, by doing this, okay, we'll let you do this, but in 6 months we want to see what you promise. A second matter, the board meetings have to be more accessible to the public. When board members are sitting and hearing only from the superintendent what's going on, and it takes till 11:30 at night to be able to hear public comment, then they don't hear from the members of the public what is going on, and how are they supposed to know what's going on in the public school system if they're only hearing one side of the story from the superintendent. So I ask for your vote, and I hope and I pledge to continue to work with you and to truly make our schools great schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Josh. First, thank you, Dr. Rush, for allowing us to have this meeting where we can express our views. In order to build a good school system, it requires not just good teachers, not just good administrators, not just parents who are involved, not just children who want to learn. It requires them to work together. Children need to want to learn, the teachers have to teach them well, the parents have to help them learn, and the administration has to hold their teachers responsible. It's the Board of Education's job to make sure that happens. It's our job to make sure all that works together to hold the superintendent responsible. Like Mr. Mandel said, make benchmarks where the superintendent must meet certain criteria. As a Board of Ed member, I will do that. I joined up with Tracy Tiff and Larry Aragon about a month ago. We've been running as a group and advertising as a group that we will come to the Board of Education to work together and make this happen. If you have 9 different individuals on the board, it's very difficult to work together. We believe that we can put the board together and allow us to work well. And if that happens, the children will gain, the teachers will gain, the superintendent will gain, and the administration will gain. And the end result, you'll see a better school system for your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 2. What do you think are the 3 most pressing issues in the Lakewood schools today?
Sorry, would you repeat that?
Yes, what do you think are the 3 most pressing issues in Lakewood schools today?
Okay, I believe the first issue is getting the education up, kicking it
Just a
up.
moment, you have 2 minutes to answer. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
You have 2 minutes to answer this question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. We got to kick up the level of education a few notches. We got to have the kids engaged, more involved in the classroom, the teachers more involved with the students, and the parents as well have to get more involved with their children and their teachers, their children's teachers. As some have mentioned, there are a few select that do come to board meetings that do express their concerns for their children, but we need to have more parent involvement in the schools. It's not just that works, for the school time. There's involved when it comes, weekends and when the kids are home and the homework and all kinds of other things like that. Kids have to realize that it's very important to their parents and that school is very important, and that has to be worked on. The other issue is security. I believe there's some concern for security. People have concerns of security. We have to address those security issues. No kid should feel that he's going to come to school and get bullied around or anything like that. He has to feel safe at all times. School should not be something he dreads or doesn't look forward to. It's something that should be exciting, and he should come and want to be more involved. Again, the teachers and the quality of the teachers and the quality of the lessons and the quality of the material studied has to be also kicked up a notch. I don't believe that right now we're doing a good job getting all this done. And what I plan on doing is getting in there. Let's go over what the school, what the teachers are teaching. Let's just make sure that everybody's on the same page. The teachers, the administrators, and the superintendent, making sure that we have the proper security for the children. They're getting the proper education and getting the parents more involved, more engaged in their children's education. And together, the board, the administration, the superintendent, the teachers, and the parents will bring the children closer to a much better education.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. West, can you please repeat the question again, please?
Yes. What do you think are the 3 most pressing issues in the Lakewood Public Schools today?
One issue that I happen to know firsthand will be building and grounds. I'm a firm believer if the building is maintained properly, if the school is upkept the way it's supposed to be, as far as fixing things, making sure that the building is not going down and the building is safe and secure. It creates a safe learning environment for the kids. Another thing that I think is important is to increase the graduation rate of our students and to lower the dropout rate. It's very important. Parent involvement is also very important. If the kids don't feel that the parents are involved in their education, they think that no one cares about their education. So it's really 4 things that I think. So those are the 4 pressing things that I think will be more important. Building and grounds, increase graduation rate, lower the dropout rate for the students, and also to improve the environment, the atmosphere of the district.
Thank you.
Like Tracy, I think that, the dropout rate, and once you can improve the dropout rate, you also have to look at the graduation rate. I think that they're somewhat connected, but I think that both are very poor, because even the ones that don't drop out, they're not graduating. The graduation children and get their level of education up, get their scores up. Many of the children who we graduate are graduating with well below, 8th, 9th grade levels when they graduate high school. And if they should want to go to college, it's a tough road because now they're in with people who graduated from other schools and they need all sorts of prep classes. It can be very deflating to somebody who thinks, well, I made it this far, now I can make it ahead, and now they got extra work to do. We have to work harder in that level. We have to improve the physical plant. I heard a lot of complaints last night at the board meeting, complaints about the operation of the middle school and the high school and areas that are falling apart. So I think that has to be attended to. There should be a plan to take a look at that. I know there's a plan to take care of the roof, but that's an emergency, and I'm not just talking about emergency. I'm talking about taking a look at what can be done. We have to take a look at the supplies that are provided, the books, technology. We have to try to get more grants, to get more computers in the school, and enable these kids to be able to function in the everyday world if they're not already there in many cases. I also think that we have to work a lot harder to involve the community, and most likely in today's environment that involves subcommittees of the board to work with the community, take input, to go back to the rest of the board and the administration and try to get a more cohesive unit going there. Where we're reflecting the community.
Thank you. That's okay. When I say thank you, you can close out about 5 seconds, okay? Okay, next person.
Thank you. I think the three most pressing areas of concern would be the academic environment, the fiscal responsibility, and the involvement of the community. First, as to the academic environment, as other individuals have already indicated, the graduation rate is abysmally low. It's about 37%, which is well below the state average. It should not be that low. It should not be any place near that low. We have to make sure that the students are being educated, that they are getting the proper remedial assistance if they need that, that if they need other types of programs, whether it's special education or on the other end, talented and gifted or advanced placement, they have to be given programs that are appropriate for their particular needs, and those programs have to be delivered in a manner that make them interested in staying in school and either preparing for some type of vocation or for going to college. Whatever it is that they're going to be doing later in life, they need to get the foundation for that within the school system. With the discipline problems that exist in the school system, with suspensions, something like 1 in every 4 students being suspended during the course of the year in the high school, that academic environment obviously is not present. Secondly, fiscal responsibility. The board has to deliver services efficiently, and they have to take the profit motive out of that delivery. The special education component of the budget is made up in large part of profit that is paid to a private firm. That has to end. There has to be a way to get those services to those kids that need those services without a profit being involved. Thirdly, the community has to become involved, whether that's individually or through organizations such as this fine organization that has been established to assist, to monitor, to encourage improvement in the school system. There has to be open access to information so that when members of the public go to the Board of Education office, they don't have to fill out Oprah forms and wait 7 business days. They need to be able to get information right away, and the board has to publicize what it's doing so that the taxpayers, and the parents, and everyone else involved know what's going on in the school system.
Thank you.
Thank you. The 3 most pressing issues are, number 1, academic achievement. And that is just a word. What we have to understand is how that delivery mechanism takes place and how students learn or take on that education. You can't be like 2 ships passing in the night. You have to have an education delivery and a receptor to that. If children are just there and are not if we have no way of really measuring how well they're taking on that education, we've missed. And therefore, the missing ingredient here is teacher and parent and student have to so closely work together. And you ring the bell if the child is not taking on the education or he's not fulfilling that role which he should have been, he or she should have been achieving by given guideline. That's why there's goals and objectives that are really needed. What is the goal at 3rd grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade? And how far are we from that goal? If the end objective is to educate the child, you have to have not only testing, because testing is sometimes subjective. You have to have real measurements to understand how that child is perceiving what the child's job is. And the child's job is to take on the education. The teacher's job is to deliver it. And you have to put those together to ensure that that's happening. Next issue is safety and security. If a child doesn't feel safe or secure in the learning environment, it is not likely that they will be ready to take on the education. So it's absolutely critical that that child wants to go to school, feels safe in school, and is secure from outside activities that might hamper his educational process.
Thank you.
First and foremost is we're all running for a spot on Board of Education. And first and foremost, we have to make sure that the education that children are receiving is thorough and efficient, which means not just, although it would be great if we would have a 100% graduation rate, but a graduation rate going on to college. It was very nice last night during the hour-and-a-half break that we had in the middle of the meeting. I was rolling the halls, and I saw there was 20, 30 graduates of Lakewood High School that were accepted into college. We need to bring that up. The children should be able to go to college, become productive members of society, and that's first. Second, we need, as I said before, we need a plan for the superintendent. It doesn't only include education, fiscally also, capital improvements, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. What do we need? So it shouldn't come to a situation where there's an emergency, yes, an emergency, not an emergency about the roof. We need to know in advance what's going on with the buildings, when are we going to need to spend the money, so we still to spend the money in an efficient way. And third is security. I remember 2 months ago, a mother came to a board meeting and said how she is scared to send her son to school because there was a message out on Facebook that if he comes to school, there's going to be a hit on him. And it's heartbreaking that a mother should feel not enough security to allow the child to go send her child to school and he'll come home safely. We need a plan, a security plan. How are we going to ensure that the children are safe in school? And I know there was a motion made by the board, I think 2 months ago, that by the next meeting, there's going to be a security plan for the superintendent. Well, I think we're still waiting for that.
Thank you.
I believe overall the system is broken. It's behind 10 or 15 years. It needs to be rebuilt. Just from the fact that this evening, where we have 3 of us maybe on the board in a month from now, and 25 parents choose to come. It's that the other parents feel that they don't matter, that the voices matter, that we don't care what they have to say. And as a board member, if I'm elected, and I believe my team, Tracy and Larry as well, we all feel very strongly that we will make the parents feel and know that their opinion and what they think counts. And we can do that and make the parents feel that their opinion counts and their involvement counts. We can create a parent advocate committee. We can create other committees that include the parents, and that will allow the teachers to do their jobs, allow administration to do their jobs. And now, if we have to bring in different teachers, we bring in different principals, a different administration to rebuild this high school system or this public school system, I would do it because it really, really matters.
Thank you. Now what we're going to do, we're going to change the order to give each give you an opportunity to be first. Okay, so we're going to start from this end with the next question. And that is, what is your opinion on charter schools?
That's an easy one.
Do they fit or not into the district's plan?
I think it's a great question. And I believe partially what I believe in that is it's not going to make it much, it's not going to make too much of a difference because I believe this is more for the state. But in certain urban areas in New Jersey, the charter schools are doing phenomenal. There's a charter school in Newark that costs between $6,000 and $7,000 a child. And their rates, their graduation rates, their grades have gone through the roof. So if we can bring in charter schools into Lakewood, if the state will allow us, the federal government will allow us to do it, absolutely, it's phenomenal, it's great. I believe we have to work with the state, we have to work with different advocacy committees like yours, like Unite, and in order to get the state to allow us to do this. If we can bring in charter schools into Lakewood, at least do a test. That may not happen. Currently watching what's going on in the state, it may not happen as quickly as we want it to happen. But if that doesn't happen, we need to look at the charter schools, other areas. We need to see how they're doing, what they're doing right, and bring the mindset into Lakewood. We can turn our public school system into a so-called charter school, even though the system, the checks will go out the same, will be the same. But we need just like a charter school hires professionals, hires people who really know what they're doing and they can rebuild the public school system. We need to see what they're doing, bring in their people if we have to, and learn from them. If we learn from them when we implement it over here, I think we can do very well.
Thank you.
I think while charter schools might be a good idea, not good idea, be a good idea, and something which the state would have to decide, but as a member of the Board of Education, it wouldn't be my job to say, I'm going to farm out the children to the charter schools. We, as Mr. Smuckwood said, we have to make our schools as good or better than the charter schools. We have to run them as fiscally responsible, more importantly, as excellent in education as the charter schools are. Charter schools aren't always the answer. Some charter schools, after they all can get closed down. But our schools, we're here. These schools are going to be here. Even if there is a charter school, it's not going to change that the Lakewood public schools are still going to be around, and they're still going to be servicing the community. And these public schools have to provide the education necessary for our children, that our children should be able to succeed in life.
Thank you.
I don't think that the final chapter has been written yet on the charter schools. There have been great successes and dismal failures. I think that a charter school has to, the academic achievement in a charter school is so closely watched because you have to file a plan on exactly how you're going to teach, how you're going to achieve that academics, how you're going to do virtually everything. It's such a detailed plan that it is so closely supervised that you can fail easily. So the objective there is to, if you're going to have a charter school, we have many models. So you better model it against one of the very successful models that has taken place, especially in Newark, Jersey City, and some in New York. Now, some of the downside of that is it does take students from the public school. And with that, the money, or a percentage of the money that goes with that child. I believe that Lakewood is right for a charter school. As a test, I don't see 2, 3, 5. I see maybe 1, maybe from the 4th through 7th. This is in the molding years of a child to make sure that they get that basic education, reading, understanding of mathematics, how to learn. Because once a child learns how to learn, the rest of it pretty much comes in stride. I think charter schools are very good at that because they can specialize. They're not under the same constraints that public schools are. They can run it for more hours. They can do things things that are just couldn't be done in the public schools. Now, charter schools the student body is composed of people that have, on a lottery system, are fortunate enough to, in that lottery system, have their children attend. You can't just go and say, gee, I want my child to attend. It's part of a lottery system. And therefore, I think it's, I wish it was a little different. I wish it was easier to start up a charter school, but it's not. But I think with the current administration in the state, they're heading more towards testing and trying these ideas out. And I think it's good because I like the idea of competition. I don't like losing the revenue from the school district, but I think it's a good thing for the students. It's a good thing for the parents, and sometimes they have a different perspective because the school is different, and there's more care and there's more giving, and hopefully, I believe that there's a better educational process right now.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean that the public schools can't get there.
Thank you. I'm not convinced that the charter school model is something that is going to save the Lakewood public school system, and I'm not convinced that it's something that is going to improve the educational attainment for this community. Certainly there are benefits to having charter schools available. I think the public school system can learn from the successes of charter schools in certain places in terms of how they have organized their academic programs and how they have been able to achieve academic success for their students. I think the public schools ought to take notice of those things. There is also a voucher program which is making its way through the legislature in New Jersey. I think that's another program that, again, is not going to save the Lakewood public school system, but there may be things that we can learn from that program. There may be reasons why we should support that program because it could indirectly help the public school system. Nonetheless, I think our obligation as a Board of Education, as a candidate for the Board of Education, is to figure out how the taxpayer-supported public school system, which has as its goal universal public education, how that system can be made to work better and expend the tax dollars in a way that will deliver those academic services and the related services in a better fashion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm going to sound like I'm copying out, but I don't think we know enough about how charter schools fit into a Lakewood environment. I think we have to go forward and employ the current administration, and if necessary, try to get some budget money to get consultants to work with them, and explore how charter schools might fit in to the Lakewood environment. What would have to be done to integrate it? And is it possible to integrate it? Is it advisable to integrate it? And what would happen?